The bakery was always busiest at 7 a.m. Locals lined up for fresh croissants, overpriced oat milk lattes, and the illusion of luxury wrapped in reclaimed wood and brass fixtures. Behind the counter, a young staff of influencers in aprons buzzed and posed. Every shift was a performance. Every customer an audience. Walter, 63, worked the morning prep. Not the counter. Not the register. He came in at 4 a.m. alone, to knead the dough no one thanked. He was invisible. And Lena, the new store lead, made sure it stayed that way. "Please don't come out front while customers are here," she'd said on his second week. "It disrupts the aesthetic." That Friday, the bakery hosted its first influencer collab. A new line of artisan elegance eclairs. Cameras. Tripos. Faux laughter. Walter watched from the kitchen doorway, holding a tray of flawless pastries he had made by hand. He smiled proud. "We ready for these?" he asked gently. Lena didn't even look. "Just set them down. Please." When he hesitated, just for a moment, a guest influencer smirked. "What is this the janitor's baking now?" Laughter. It wasn't cruel. It was worse, casual. Walter quietly lowered the tray and disappeared back into the kitchen. But someone else had watched the whole thing. A man in dark jeans. Quiet. Hoodie pulled up. Coffee half finished. Sitting alone in the corner. Keanu Reeves. He stood. Walked to the tray. Picked up an eclair. Bit into it. Then looked at the influencer and said softly, "That's the best pastry I've had in a decade. And you just laughed at the man who made it." Silence. Keanu nodded toward the kitchen door. "You're filming the wrong person." That clip, the one where Keanu defended Walter, wasn't supposed to exist. No phones were aimed at him. No dramatic angles. Just a stranger's blurry story post that caught his voice at the exact moment it mattered. Within hours, it had 400K views. By morning, #PastryWithKeanu was trending. Lena was panicking. She huddled in the office with her assistant manager, whispering hard. "We need to post something, like now." Apology video? Gano. That makes us look guilty. Just say we value all our staff. Throw in a picture of the baker guy. What's his name again? Walter. Right. Him. They didn't ask him for input. They didn't include his voice. Just a staged photo of him with flour on his apron, half smiling while holding a whisk. But at 7:03 a.m., the front door chimed. Keanu walked in again. No camera crew. No entourage. Just him. This time, he ordered the same coffee as before, and waited. Walter peeked from the back, surprised. Keanu caught his eye and smiled. "I came for the eclair." Walter hesitated, then walked out, slowly, awkwardly, apron dusted with flour. The room hushed. Keanu pointed to the pastry case. "Did you make these too?" "Yes." "Can I buy two?" "One for now, one for the road." Walter nodded, voice small. "You really liked it?" Keanu took his change and shook Walter's hand. "I liked what it said about you." Walter looked confused. Keanu added quietly, "You put care into something, even when no one's watching. That matters." Behind the counter, Lena stood frozen. Her jaw tightened. Smile twitching. Keanu turned toward her, not aggressive. Not smug. Just present. "You know," he said softly, "you can decorate a bakery all you want. But the people who rise at 4 a.m.? They're the ones who actually make it." And with that he left. Walter stood still, holding a paper bag with his own pastry inside. And for the first time in years, he felt seen. By Sunday, the bakery wasn't just trending, it was under scrutiny. Comments flooded their socials. "Why isn't Walter the face of this place? Give the baker a raise. Keanu just exposed your whole vibe." Lena knew the narrative was slipping. So she did what she always did, perform. She scheduled a press hour. Celebrating our beloved artisan baker, Walter. Cameras. Cupcake towers. Branded aprons. #banners. They even printed a sign. Crafted with Walter's love. But when Walter arrived, freshly showered, shirt pressed, she handed him a chef's hat 3 sizes too big and whispered, "Just stand by the counter and smile, okay?" Walter hesitated. Will I get to say anything? Later. Maybe. Just follow my lead. The cafe filled with reporters and influencers. The staff rehearsed claps. And then, right on cue, Keanu walked in. This time, people noticed. Phones went up. A ripple of whispers spread. Lena spotted him and lit up with manufactured charm. Everyone, we're so honored to have Mr. Reeves join us. We're showcasing the amazing work of our baker, Walter, someone who represents the heart of this place. Walter stood awkwardly, silent and blinking under two bright lights. Lena turned to him, smiling wide. Walter, tell everyone how it feels to finally be recognized. Walter opened his mouth, then paused. Because Keanu wasn't watching Lena. He was watching him. Walter cleared his throat. Then said quietly, "It's confusing. I've been here for 2 years. This is the first time anyone's asked me how I feel." The room stilled. Last week, I was told to stay out of sight. A few reporters shifted. Walter added, "But I've always cared. Even when no one noticed. Even when people joked that I looked like the janitor." Lena laughed nervously. "Oh, Walter, that was taken out of." "You said it," he replied. Not angrily. Just honestly. He looked at Keanu. "Thank you for seeing me before they did." Keanu nodded once. Didn't speak. Because the truth didn't need help anymore. It was finally speaking for itself. By Monday, the press event was everywhere. But not for the reasons Lena hoped. Headlines read, "Bakery tried to use employee for PR. Keanu said no." Unsung hero becomes the voice of a movement. Even late-night clips rolled the footage. Walter's words. Keanu's silence. Lena's forced grin. Corporate sent an email that morning. Effective immediately, please schedule a private meeting with Walter D. to discuss rebranding opportunities and potential leadership alignment. Translation? Promote him. Or we will. Walter was brought into the back office. Lena was already seated, looking smaller than usual. The district manager joined via Zoom. "Walter, we'd like to offer you the title of head artisan. Custom chef coat, menu input, a framed bio on the wall." Walter sat still, folded his hands, then asked calmly, "Will anything change for the dishwashers?" They blinked. "I'm sorry." The ones who still clock in at 4:30 a.m. The kid who's too scared to speak up. The woman who wipes tables between chemotherapy sessions. Will they get a title too? Lena shifted. The district manager hesitated. "Well, that's not really the scope." "Then I'm not interested in a plaque," Walter said. He smiled gently. "But I am interested in teaching them how to do what I do. If I can help them earn something real, that's the only promotion I need." Outside the room, Keanu leaned quietly against the brick wall. He hadn't come in. He didn't need to. Because what needed to be said was already spreading. That afternoon, a new sign went up on the break room bulletin board. Not company issued. Just paper. Taped at an angle. Walter's Wednesday workshop. 6 a.m. Dough, dignity, and how to rise without stepping on anyone. Underneath, someone had scribbled, "Save me a seat." 5:55 a.m. The lights in the bakery kitchen buzzed to life. Flour dust swirled in the early shafts of sunrise cutting through the side windows. 3 employees showed up, aprons in hand. Luis, 17, usually silent. Shauna, early 40s, polite, observant. And Aaron, who worked backline prep and barely spoke above a whisper. Walter greeted them with coffee already brewed and dough resting under warm towels. "This isn't a class," he said. "It's a space. You don't need to impress me. You just need to be here." They started slow. Mixing. Folding. Stretching. Hands covered in flour. Laughter tentative. By 6:35 a.m., they'd made 2 trays of simple rolls and shaped 1 batch of future croissants. During cleanup, Walter noticed Luis lingering near the sink, unusually quiet. "You okay?" Luis shrugged. "You always this calm?" Walter chuckled. "No. Not always." Luis looked down at the dough under the towel. "My old job. If I messed up a batch, I get screamed at. Once, the guy threw a tray. I quit the next day. Walter nodded slowly. That's not baking. That's fear wearing a chef's coat. He reached down and uncovered the dough. This is patience. It rises in its own time. Doesn't care who's watching. Just needs warmth. Luis's eyes flickered. You think people can be like that too? Walter looked him in the eye. I think they already are. They just need a room that doesn't throw trays. From the far end of the kitchen, Keanu watched. No camera. No notes. Just listening. And smiling. As the team left for the day, Walter noticed something folded under his apron. A napkin. Keanu's writing, unmistakable. Some people build legacies. You built a place for others to build their own. It was nearly closing when Walter stepped outside to toss the compost bags. The alley was quiet, still warm from the afternoon sun. That's when saw her leaning against the brick wall. No clipboard. No makeup. Just her and a nervous glance at the ground. I wasn't sure you'd still be here, she said softly. I never left, Walter replied, not unkindly. I know. The pause. I didn't come to fight, she added. Or defend what I said before. Walter waited. You were right, Lena said. About the way I ran things. About how I treated people. I thought perfection was respect. Turns out I was just afraid people wouldn't take me seriously unless I acted like I was better than them. Her voice cracked slightly. And now, no one will hire me. My name's tied to a headline I can't delete. She looked up. You ever feel like you're only remembered for your worst moment? Walter leaned against the wall beside her. Took a breath. When I was 20, I dropped a wedding cake 2 minutes before delivery. 6 tears. Royal icing. Gone. Lena blinked. What happened? I cried. The chef screamed. I almost quit. But then, someone handed me a towel instead of a lecture. He smiled faintly. I remember the towel more than the mistake. Lena stared at her feet. Do you think people like me can change? I think people like you already have. The ones who ask that question usually aren't pretending anymore. Silence stretched. Then Lena handed him a small folded envelope. For the workshop, she said. Flour. Eggs. Real ones. Not symbolic. She almost smiled. Walter nodded. Thank you, Lena. And she walked away, not redeemed, not erased. But begun again. Inside the envelope was a receipt for ingredients, and a sticky note, barely legible. Learning how to rise. Even if it takes 100 tries. By the 3rd week, Walter's workshop was standing room only. Word had spread. Not through hashtags or PR blasts, but by flour on sleeves and whispers in break rooms. Prep workers. Dishwasher kids. Retired line cooks. Even a few baristas who wanted to learn what real food feels like. They came at 6 a.m. sharp. And every time, Walter was already there. This morning he had help. Keanu stood quietly beside him, apron tied loose, sleeves rolled just enough. No announcement. He just showed up and started kneading dough next to Jalen, a 16-year-old who barely spoke on his first day. He laughed as Keanu showed him how to braid the edges of a pastry. In the corner, unnoticed, sat Kylie, a freelance photographer who'd heard about the workshop from her younger sister. She didn't plan to shoot. But when she saw the older man in a baker's cap gently guiding the hand of a kid with flour on his nose, and Keanu Reeves watching, smiling, learning, she quietly raised her camera. That photo hit social media by noon. No filter. No caption. Just raw light and soft hands shaping dough. By nightfall it had 3 million likes. Someone added a comment that stuck. The man who needs bread and the man who saw him. When asked for a quote by a local reporter, Walter only said, "We don't teach baking here. We teach how not to flinch when someone finally sees you." The workshop board had to be expanded. And Keanu? He never spoke about it. Never claimed it. But every Wednesday without fail, he was there, flour covered, sleeves rolled, nodding silently to each new pair of shaking hands. By the end of the month, emails poured in. News outlets. Food bloggers. Everyday hero podcasts. But the one that stood out came with an embossed header. Hearth Rise Global Artisan Brand. Their rep arrived in a blazer so sharp it could slice fondant. She shook hands firmly, complimented the humble aesthetic, and handed Walter a proposal in a leather folder. "We'd like to turn your workshop into a sponsored campaign," she smiled. "T-shirts, branded mixers, video shorts. Rise with Walter. We'll fund it all." Walter raised an eyebrow. "What's the catch?" "Just a few small things. Company signage. Uniform branding. A curated script for press appearances. And we'd need you to tone down the personal history talk. Focus more on the product." Walter looked at the folder. Then at the people behind the counter. Jalen laughing. Shauna wiping flour from her glasses. Aaron holding up a perfect braid. He closed the folder gently. "No." The rep blinked. "I'm sorry. This place works because no one's selling anything. Because no one feels like a prop." He smiled, not angrily, just clearly. "If I can't speak in my own voice, I don't want a microphone." That evening, Keanu leaned beside him at the prep table. "That was a big check you turned down." Walter chuckled. "You ever seen a dough that rises too fast? Yeah. It collapses." "Exactly." Later, someone pinned another napkin to the workshop board. This one was anonymous, but the writing looked a lot like Keanu's. "What you build slowly will outlast everything they build for applause." The next day, 4 new people showed up. None asked for autographs. They just asked for aprons. It came on a Thursday, folded inside an unmarked envelope. No return address. Just his name, handwritten, carefully, like someone afraid to smudge the ink. Walter opened it slowly, flowers still on his fingertips. "Walt, you probably don't want to hear from me. I understand. I wasn't kind. I wasn't fair. And I pretended you didn't exist when I needed you most. Lena." He stopped reading for a second. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't. "Not anymore." The letter continued. "You made that place run. You held it together while I stood out front acting like I'd built it all myself. I called you disruptive to the aesthetic. That line haunts me. I guess I wrote this just to say, I see it now. I see you. At the bottom, you didn't need a spotlight to shine. You were the light behind the curtain the whole time. Thank you for never dimming." Walter folded it gently. No anger. No judgment. Just a quiet kind of peace that only comes from surviving the thing they said would break you. That evening, he brought the letter to the workshop. Didn't read it aloud. Didn't name her. Just held it up and said, "Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means choosing not to carry what someone else dropped on you." He pinned the letter on the wall, beside the napkins, quotes, and notes from every soul who'd passed through. A reminder that even those who once silenced you might one day find their voice through yours. Keanu watched from the back, arms crossed, smiling faintly. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to, because Walter had become the one others now quoted. Friday morning. The ovens hadn't even cooled yet. Walter was cleaning a rolling pin when the manager rushed in. "Walter, someone from the city's here. Big deal. Real polished. Says she's got ideas." Walter wiped his hands. Tied his apron tighter. The woman introduced herself as Clara Hahn, a local official overseeing community development. Her words were fast, practiced. "Mr. Davis, what you've built here is extraordinary. A model of inclusion, dignity, and skill building. We'd like to replicate this across the city." She handed him a packet. Charts. Projections. Financial forecasts. Franchise training hubs. Walter's workshop in every borough. Weekly sessions. Digital branding. City-sponsored badges. You'd be the figurehead, of course. Walter turned the page and saw something that stopped him. A mock-up of a logo. His name, stamped across rolling pins and coffee mugs. A tagline underneath. "Rise like Walter." He exhaled slowly. "You know what made this place work, Clara?" She looked up from her tablet. Consistency? Structure? No. Silence. It started with one man noticing a moment no one else cared about. He folded the packet. "I don't want this turned into merch. It was never about me." Clara frowned. "You don't want to scale impact?" Walter shook his head. You don't scale impact. You multiply it, one person at a time. He walked her to the door, gently. You want to help? Fund them. The dishwashers, the ones who don't speak English yet. The kid who's too scared to fill out a form. But don't make me a statue. I'm not here to be worshipped. I'm here to keep the oven warm for the next pair of hands. Clara paused, then said quietly, That's the best pitch I've ever heard. And she left, packet unopened. That night, someone left a folded napkin on Walter's counter. But this one wasn't Keanu's. It was from Luis, the shy 17-year-old who used to never speak. I used to think being small meant I had nothing to give. Now I think it means I can move through the cracks. And bring light. The invitation came in an email. Mr. Davis, we're holding a vocational day at Southridge High. We'd be honored if you'd speak about your journey. Walter hesitated. Not because of the talk, but because Southridge was where his son had gone. A boy now grown. A silence stretched over nearly 7 years. He typed, Yes. I'll be there. The auditorium was smaller than he remembered. Wooden seats. Buzzing lights. Half-listening students. Teachers checking phones. Walter stepped on stage with a plate of still warm cinnamon rolls and a quiet breath. I'm not going to talk about success, he began. I'm going to talk about failing. And showing up anyway. He scanned the crowd. Then stopped. Second row. Center. Nathan. Older now. Same jawline. Same guarded eyes. Walter's voice faltered. Just for a second. But then he smiled, not to the room, to him. I spent a lot of time being invisible. Sometimes because others made me. Sometimes because I believed I deserved it. I missed birthdays. I worked too many night shifts. And I thought that putting bread on the table was enough. But it turns out, being there matters more than making. A silence settled over the room. A respectful one. Walter paused. Then looked at his son again. If you've ever wondered if someone still thinks about you, they do. After the applause, soft but sincere, Walter packed up quietly. He didn't expect a word. But as he stepped through the doors, a voice followed him. Hey! Turned. Nathan stood there, hands in pockets. Cinnamon rolls smelled the same as when I was 6. Walter's voice caught. I still make them the same way. A long pause. You free for coffee? Walter's hands shook slightly as he nodded. Always. Keanu was never seen that day. But later, Walter returned to the bakery to find a small note on the register. No signature. The things we build with our hands can sometimes fix the things we broke with our silence. It was the first Monday of the month. The bakery was calm. Workshop trays stacked. Counters wiped. Dough rising gently under linen cloth. Walter stood near the back, watching Jalen pull a tray from the oven. Perfect golden crust, delicate steam curling up in morning light. You ever think about what happens after you? Jalen asked. Walter blinked. After what? After you stop running this. Who keeps it going? Walter smiled. Then reached into a drawer and pulled out a small cloth-wrapped bundle. Unfolded it. Inside, a wooden spoon, worn smooth by time. This was my dad's, Walter said. He used to make rye loaves every Sunday. When I left home, I never told him I missed it. But every time I cook with this, I feel like I'm still talking to him. He held it out. Now I'm talking to you. Jalen's hands trembled as he took it. I'm not going anywhere, Walter added. But legacy doesn't wait for death. It lives in the things we pass on while we're still breathing. Jalen nodded, eyes glassy. I'll take care of it. Not just the spoon, Walter said. The people. That night, Walter sat outside the bakery. Cool breeze. Wanty. The smell of fresh bread drifting into the street. A black car pulled up. Door opened. Keanu stepped out. No cameras. Just a seat beside him. They sat in silence for a while. Then Walter said, You never asked for credit. Keanu smiled. Neither did you. Walter handed him something. A small loaf. Wrapped in paper. Still warm. On it the note. For the one who noticed the quiet ones first. Keanu accepted it like a sacred thing. Then stood. Take care, Walter. You too, Keanu. The door shut. The car disappeared. The street grew still. And inside the bakery, on a new wall freshly painted, hung no photo. No portrait. Just a single framed napkin. In familiar handwriting. True power is the hand that lifts others before it's asked to. Thanks for watching. Have you ever been overlooked until one person saw your worth? Tell us your story in the comments. And if this touched your heart, like and subscribe for more cinematic stories inspired by real dignity, justice, and quiet heroes. Because sometimes the softest voice changes everything.